it was like a grand finale of fireworks. They were moving at such speed. I mean, man, it was mind-boggling. It was just no human can be in a device, a vehicle, and go that speed without turning into liquid if you're moving from point A to point B. So, I mean, sometimes I feel like they were actually sending a message, almost like a code, like a dot dot dash dash, because since this has happened, I've changed. My whole life has changed. Everything about me has changed. So, I mean, these things just popping off and on everywhere, man. It's off and on everywhere. It is intense. And then it just shuts off. As quick as it begun, it had ended. And for a moment, it was just silence for a brief moment. And at that moment, I stopped looking up at the skies. And I started just looking around at what was happening to my surroundings, to where I was standing. And that's when, like, shit really sunk in. I'm like, what is going on here? Working on a farm, if any of you guys ever worked on a farm, there was constant noise. Constant noise, whether it be cows from another farm, hound dogs down the road, insects in the field, coyotes, anything. There's just always a noise going on no matter where you're at on a farm. Deers jumping over fences, I mean, all types of stuff. You're always hearing something. But it was dead quiet. I mean, it was so quiet. Even the hound dogs that were right across the way, they had a kennel, like 40 dogs. And these dogs barked all the time, nonstop, day and night. They were quiet, dead quiet, not making a sound. And there was this fog. This was a 6 foot, 7 foot fog. And it was everywhere in the plants. But the craziest thing about it was, like, I was probably 200 feet from where the rows of tomatoes started, and it's like the fog didn't come out of the plants. It was like it was so thick, but it was nowhere in the dirt area. It was all in the plants. It was crazy. It was intense, man. And I'm like, what is going on? This is all for a brief moment, all this stuff sinking in. I'm like, man, something special going on. And even the dogs know something special and intense is going on. So at this moment, there was a diamond-colored orb, or a white orb, that was over in the sky, and it was all by itself, and it was not straight ahead of me, like what I saw. What I was watching was straight ahead. This was over this way, and it just dangled there. It was just like a diamond twinkling in the sky, and this is one of the wildest parts. It exploded, and when it exploded, it didn't turn into fragments shooting everywhere like a firework. There was no noise at all, not one sound. When it exploded, it turned from one orb into multiple orbs, and they were pastel colors, and they were hanging like a frown, like this, and they were all pastel colors, pastel pink, pastel yellow, pastel purple, blue, very light colors, not as intense as the orange that I just saw. And they hung there for a moment, and there was just 2 tiers below them, and they were smaller frowns right below. There was the bigger one, and then right below there were these 2 other arches, I guess. They were just beautiful, very beautiful to watch. And they just dangled in the air for a little bit, and then, like, just one by one, they just started all shutting off. Every single one of them shut off, and it was over with, So I thought. So not too long after that, I'm just like, whoa, man, that was intense. And then I hear it. And it's a jet. And he's coming hard, he's coming fast, he's coming in low, but he's quiet, man. I've never heard a jet so quiet in my life. And this jet flies right over me. And I can see the belly of the beast, and I personally thought it was a raptor, because I thought raptors are the ones that had the heat shields or exhaust shields. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not a pilot. One of my friends who's in the military said that there's no raptors on the East Coast, and if it came from the direction that we talked about, it was coming from Jacksonville. It could have been just something in the air flying around that could have been here, that could have been first response, but it was a raptor, I'm pretty sure. I know I saw the belly It was a Raptor, but man, it was flying low, it was flying fast, quiet, and it had like an afterburner shield at an angle, almost like that. Like you could barely see the afterburner, because most of the time you see a jet that close, you can see the heat, you know. And man, it was just cruising straight towards the direction where everything happened. And like as soon as he got there, man, he cut to the right, and as soon as he started cutting to the right, two of the troop transporter helicopters. I don't remember what they're called, Chinooks maybe, or Cheyennes, something like that. I'm not an expert, but the ones with the double propellers or the double blades, you know, that could carry a lot of people in them. And two of them flew over there, and they circled around that whole area for a good 10-15 minutes. They had spotlights on and everything. I mean, for a second it looked like they might have been dropping troops, because they came to a complete hover while another one was circling around with a spotlight. You know what I mean? This was just set there. So in my mind, you know, if I was on that and I was leading that unit, you know, I'd be like, boots on the ground, bitches, you know. So I imagine boots were on the ground, men were investigating, and I don't think it was government. I think government knew about it and locked on to him for a second, because that spaceship was so massive, man. I mean, it defies the laws of gravity and nature, you know, unless they're got an anti-gravity system. I mean, it was massive, and it was metal, you know. But besides that, so all this happened for a little bit, you know. They flew around, and here comes Andy. Andy's the truck driver that I'm going to meet at the farm to pick up the last load of tomatoes for the night. And Andy's Polish, super nice guy. I love the guy, man. He's like one of the best truckers. If you see this, Andy, what's up, man? He's a trucker from South Carolina. His son's name is, I can't remember. But here comes Andy, and big Polish guy, man. He's like 6'6", long hair, loves American rock and roll, has cowboy boots on, half deaf. Talks like this, hello, Casey. But yeah, he pulled up, and he just hawks up like how he always does, and he's like, Casey, hello, how you doing this evening? I'm like, Andy, man, I'm like, he's the first person I've talked to. I've tried calling my girlfriend at the time, but she was drunk, probably drunk. She liked to drink. I mean, just being real. She's probably drunk or getting drunk or working at a bar with her friends and getting drunk later. But besides that, Andy showed up, and I started telling him everything that had gone on. He doesn't know English that well. He's looking at me, and he understands UFOs. You know what I'm saying? UFO. He goes, UFOs? You saw UFOs tonight? I was like, yeah, I just saw him. He's like, and I'm trying to tell him the story. Like I said, his English has always been choppy with me. But during all that, I'm telling them the helicopters are still there. You know, those helicopters, military helicopters, are there. We're investigating everything that went on. And so everything calms down, you know, and I wanted to go ahead and get the truck loaded up. So I started loading the truck up with the pallets of tomatoes. And I mean, this is one of the craziest parts. You know, like I said, man, it's telecommunication. I got a few pallets onto his truck, and he wanted to check the temperatures of them himself and document them, because good truckers do that. So he's in his trailer, and he's checking the temperatures of the tomatoes to make sure everything's good. You know, so they're the same at the front as they are in the back, basically. And at this moment, on the loading dock, I got my foot up. I'm just staring out there, and everybody's left by now. The helicopters are gone, the jet's gone, and it's just peaceful again. So I just look out there, and I go, you motherfuckers are still out there, aren't you? I was like, you're still out there. I was like, aren't you? And I just looked out there real hard, like, I know you are. And boom, one of them things turned on just for a second, man. And he just hovered in the air. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, Andy. And Andy started running, you know, big old cowboy boots, big guy. And he just wanted to see what was going on. And man, as soon as he stepped one foot out that trailer, and as soon as he pivoted and to look in that direction, that thing shut off. I mean, it was like, zoop, nope. And they're like, nope, this is for you to see, Casey, you know, this is for you. I was like, oh man, they didn't say my name, but I just put that in there. But so he missed it. They turned off. But as soon as that happened, one of those Chinooks, I think is what they are called. I mean, he is hauling ass, man. He is pitched at an angle. Like, I mean, everybody on that thing was having a ride of their life. He was hauling butt. And so he shows up and he flies around for a few more minutes, doesn't see anything, I guess, and they take back off. And it was nuts, man. It was mind blowing. So that night it was pretty difficult to sleep, really hard to sleep. Had a lot of thoughts going on in my head. And the next night was pretty difficult to sleep. So and it was a Friday, so I decided to go back into town and see my girlfriend. And I had told her what had happened. She had believed me. The guys on the farm didn't. My managers, kind of one of my good friends, did not believe me. He didn't even want to hear it. I tried telling it to him. He started singing a song that was on the radio. For such an educated man, he was closed-minded on that conversation. So the other guys didn't want to hear it either, They all just thought I'd ate some mushrooms or something. The amigos on the farm, they believed me. We all sat around, we all talked about it, and they all believed me. They believed in all that stuff. And so I decided to get back into town and, just see her, see the dog, have a few drinks, just relax. Did I drink that night? No, I didn't drink. I don't think I drank that night. But soon after all this, I did drink for a little bit because drunk girlfriend. So I came home, let the dog out of the cage,